Hi, and welcome to Athens Speakout. This is program 370. Today is it's June 14th, 2016. I'm with Dr. Robert Whaley, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about marijuana. And I guess in the past week, Governor John Kasich has signed a bill for medicinal marijuana, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And we're going to talk a little more about the history of marijuana. And Robert has an article from Bertha Madras, who is affiliated with the McLean Hospital and the Harvard Medical School in Boston, Massachusetts. And she's give 5 reasons that marijuana is not a medicine. And that's what we're going to discuss with Robert here about it. If he wants to start talking about the 5 reasons marijuana is not a medicine, and start with number 1 there, Robert.
Okay, well, this Dr. Madras puts health considerations first, especially for children. And many people who are in favor of marijuana are interested in recreation and getting a drunk that might be better than alcohol to get drunk. They're interested in getting high and interested in going to sleep for some other motive, but it's not to cure any known disease.
Right.
However, it has medicinal properties because, like alcohol, marijuana could be used as a painkiller. There's no doubt that it kills pain. But killing pain is not a cure of every disease, okay? So anyway, Dr. Madras says that...
I just wanted to mention there, Robert, that Dr. Madras is a professor of psychobiology there at the McLean Hospital, and I didn't give her credentials.
It's part of Harvard Medical School.
Right, and Dr. Whaley here is a diplomatic historian. So,
that's correct.
And we have a friend by the name of John Burnham who has made a good study of this, who is a social historian. So that's
right.
one of the rereasons we're discussing this today.
Right. So anyway, according to Madras, more Americans are dependent on cannabis than any other illicit drug. It's widespread. It's not regulated. And everybody knows from practical experience that cocaine is more dangerous and heroin is still even further, and then synthetic drugs like Oxycontin.
Right.
So everyone agrees that marijuana is a painkiller,
Right.
but it's not as addictive as other drugs, and it's not going to lead to quick death.
Right.
Okay.
You might mention there that Dr. Madras mentioned in their study that it indicated that 30% of the current cannabis users harbor a use disorder.
That's right.
Can you define that, Robert?
Well, the question is, what are the motives for using marijuana? Fun or medicine? If I take alcohol to calm my bronchitis, that's a medicine.
Right.
But if I go out to the bar to drink 6 whiskeys in order to get drunk, that's not medicine. That's abuse.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the majority of people that I know that use marijuana do it for recreational purposes and not medicinal purposes. Although I can say that those that take it for medicinal purposes are in hope of alleviating some of their medical discomfort.
That's right.
It's not going to cure it. I don't think marijuana is a cure, but
That's right.
It does help alleviate pain.
Right. So if
other
someone
things.
is on his deathbed and they have cancer and they're going to die in 6 months, I don't have any problem with them taking marijuana rather than paying a lot of money for Davon. That's up to the patient. Mm-hmm. But that patient is usually old and well-informed, okay? So that older people know how to restrict the taking of alcohol or drugs and not get drunk indiscriminately.
Right.
Okay, so in other words, I don't want marijuana to get into the hands of my grandson who doesn't know the difference between marijuana and cocaine. Okay, he's
Right.
just naive.
Right.
Children under 18 are naive by definition. Okay,
Right.
so that's what Madras is saying. Be cautious. It's not a medicine. A medicine has to have scientific research. Okay, and what's in raw cannabis is not controlled. It's just a chemical. It's just a grass. It's just a raw product with 60 known chemicals in it.
It's
Well,
THC.
Yeah, well, THC has been purified, but there are all kinds of other things.
Okay,
benzopriazine.
yeah, I understand where you're
Well,
coming
that's in
from.
raw
It's-
tobacco. Well, raw tobacco had nicotine. That's the key active drug, nicotine. But it also had these other chemicals, tars and
Right.
benzopriazine that
Right.
gave the cancer. See.
Right.
So anyway, they did 40 years of research on cancer and proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that it'll cause emphysema, it'll cause heart conditions, it'll shorten life, it'll cause cancer. Well, these research tests have not yet been done on marijuana because there's no invested interest in investigating the harmful side courses.
Right.
Who's going to put up the money
Right.
for that?
Now, you and I talked earlier about the history of marijuana and the fact that, you said that it had, in the United States, we're talking about the history of it, after Prohibition or during Prohibition or whatever, that marijuana became popular for a while.
That's correct.
And
As a substitute for the illegal speakeasy.
okay, those people doing that. So I guess my whole point is that it hasn't been around long enough to really conduct too many studies, and that's what they're doing at Harvard, and I'm sure there's other laboratories around the country that are doing the same thing. But I think that's what your primary concern is with the medicinal legalizing of marijuana.
That's right.
That maybe we don't know enough about it yet in order to
Right.
to
So
legalize
what
it.
Madras-
Obviously, we didn't know much about cigarettes when we put
So
those on the
Madras's
market.
first reason is that the THC varies in its potency from 1 to 80%. So when somebody buys a joint from some dealer, he doesn't know how potent it is.
No.
It could be diluted, only give you 1% effectiveness, or it can be 80 times as strong.
Right.
So what is the quality control? There is no
Yeah.
quality control.
Well-
when you go to a Mexican dealer,
Well, the whole thing is,
or a Meigs County
it's
dealer.
probably common sense that they're not going to give you the most potent form of marijuana and sell it to you at a cheap price. You're going to have to pay for that more potent.
That's right. Okay. Well,
But
that's
at the
all.
same time, it's an unknown thing. Sometimes good marijuana and bad marijuana get mixed together, and so sometimes I guess those users get lucky sometimes, and
Okay.
and they get what they're after.
Now, her second objection is that marijuana impairs and degrades brain functions. Now, to what degree, we don't know. It can, intoxicating levels can interfere with learning. They've done tests on
Right.
kids.
Right.
You have a poor memory.
I think it's common knowledge that heavy use of marijuana does destroy the person's initiative.
Right.
They don't seem to care about anything other than
Right.
smoking more marijuana. But of
So it has a loss of motivation.
course, that goes from individual to individuals. There's some that stay motivated somehow or another, whereas others that they don't care much
And if
about
you take
anything.
enough joints, you can get addicted. But tobacco is more addictive faster than marijuana is.
Yeah, I think there's studies
That's
that
right.
show that.
That's right. So that's the key question. What is the motives? and it reduces IQ. It can cause psychosis. It can cause anxiety with excessive vomiting, sleep problems, reduced lifespan. Those are the side effects of excessive use of marijuana with no controls. Okay? Now, her third reason is that high quality, unbiased research requires what they call unbiased observers. In other words, you have blind doctors. Mm-hmm. You give them, one thing is just a pipe of tobacco, right. The other one is a pipe of marijuana, and the guy who tests it doesn't know what's in it.
Yeah.
But the doctor has to test on it. Well, what was the effect?
Yeah. Is that what they call a double-blind test?
Double-blind tests.
Yeah.
And they haven't had any double-blind tests.
Yeah.
Because it's not been researched scientifically. But so any guy from Meigs County can say, here's some good marijuana, smoke it. Has it ever been tested? No, I tested in my backyard. It's fine. Take it.
We got to quit picking on the fine people from Meigs County.
Okay. So then her third point, or her fourth point is that the American Medical Association, the Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry have not approved these medical tests, and the American Psychiatric Association haven't approved. Nobody has given any seal of approval to the quality of these THC tests because there's no way to compare Meigs Gold with Mexican smuggled drugs that came in last week. See?
Now, Robert, I have a question for you. And you've done a lot more research about this than I have on this marijuana. But the thing is this. We have two states. We have Washington State and Colorado State, both who have approved marijuana.
Well, there are now 24 states who have approved it.
Well, I mean, okay, yes, but what I'm saying is that it's ready to go. I don't know that Illinois or Idaho or any of those other states. These are the two states that are in the news.
They started it. They started
right,
5 years ago, 6 years ago.
My question is this: was there any research conducted before those states legalized it?
Not real scientific research. Anecdotal evidence. Who's going to put the money up to hire a psychologist, a physiologist, a biochemist?
But both Washington State and Colorado are both established states. I mean, we're not talking about some banana republic.
Right.
I would have thought that somebody would have had to have conducted some research before those two had...
Not when there's money involved.
Yeah. Maybe that's it.
The marijuana is grown in Northern California. Mm-hmm. And the Mexican drug dealers smuggle it over to Washington. Easy access.
Well,
you can get marijuana access to Canada.
Yeah.
So you can bring it across the border.
Yeah, you take it right across there into Vancouver.
And Mexican drug dealers can go up on a boat and land it all over the coast of California.
I understand that. I'm just saying that those states.
So who's going to check it?
That who. And I might mention the fact that the state of California could furnish all the produce and everything, vegetables, food, that the rest of the United States would need.
Right.
And still, illegal marijuana is the #1 product that's produced in the state of California. When you think of all the legal products that are, come from there, and that the one illegal product, or one of the illegal products that comes from the state of California, and it's marijuana.
Yeah.
And I mentioned to you yesterday, we were talking that there's two groups that lobby, or well, one group does, the other one I don't know has a lobby, but the manufacturers of alcohol, whether it be beer or wine or scotch, and the illegal marijuana growers are the two groups that do not want marijuana legalized, and for obvious reasons.
They're going to cut into the whiskey business.
Into their profits, I mean.
So if you have cancer and you're on your deathbed, my father was given Darvon.
Darvon, yeah.
Now I don't know how much the Darvon cost compared to THC.
Right.
Sold on the illegal market by a Mexican.
Well, your
smuggler.
father died in 1972, so I don't, marijuana was illegally available at the time, but he probably wouldn't have wanted to have consumed something that was illegal. So.
Well, they didn't have very much in the East Coast then. The marijuana was at the campus.
Mm-hmm.
Probably at the University of Delaware, probably at Columbia University.
It was probably
at Johns Hopkins, just as it was. But the marijuana.
NYU.
Yeah, when I first came to
Rutgers.
Athens in 1964, there were only 50,000 marijuana smokers in the whole United States.
50,000.
Yeah, they had them counted by the federal drug, because Nixon thought he was just going to stop it. Okay. Because he was he had all pure.
Richard Nixon
started
the but he started the DEA.
Yeah, well,
he
but that was kind of naive because he got a lot of Republican Puritans who wanted that.
Yeah.
But in 1964, it was 50,000 smokers cataloged by the Federal Drug Authority.
Right.
Well, by 1968. Because of the growing protest on the Vietnam War.
Right.
It was millions, but nobody was counting it.
they lost count.
Because there were 2,000 campuses smoking pot.
Yeah, they lost count.
Because they thought that pot was a symbol of protest against LBJ and his war.
Yeah.
And they said, well, LBJ is lying about the war, and the Medical Association is lying about drugs.
Yeah.
It's not as harmful.
But it's my understanding that when I talk to some of these people hung over from the 60s, they tell me that smoking dope in 1968, the marijuana was not the same grade as it is today.
That's right. The mafia have perfected the high quality. There's 1 to 80.
So
it might have been only 6 in 1964.
Perhaps.
And it's now as high as 80, depending on how far you refine the seeds.
Right.
That's done through selective breeding.
Right. Oh, of course.
Stronger and stronger dose.
They've got that down to a science, and that's strange. The growers have got it down to a science, whereas the medical researchers they don't know what they're looking at right yet. So.
Well, we haven't got any objective scientific.
Well, that's the word, objective. And another thing about this whole deal is, I don't trust the government in putting out propaganda about something like this. Now, this woman that wrote this article is very credible. She's with Harvard Medical School, and not everybody's with them. So I would say that she's telling the truth. But I just wonder about the political motivations of some of our senators and House reps.
Well, it goes to Wall Street.
Well, yeah, Wall Street's involved
pays
too.
The advertising expenses of senators, and I'm sure that Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, which is a growing state, if he gets in the marijuana business, he knows there's profits there.
Yeah,
he's getting profits already from the tobacco business in Kentucky, and he's probably getting money from the whiskey business in Kentucky. Kentucky is always
it does have whiskey,
wine, whiskey, alcohol, and I didn't get into anything else.
And women.
Don't
forget that.
Okay. But anyway, these kind of naive Washington, the naive Athens County who wants to legalize this, somehow or other thinks that he can make a little bit of profit from marijuana grown in Athens County or Meigs County.
No,
but what I asked them is, Okay, you're making profit for 2 years, but what's going to stop
Right.
the Mexican from getting
Right.
in his car and driving into Athens? You're going to be able to stop every car on the road.
Right.
That's what Sheriff Kelly dealt with. He
Yeah,
said, I
yeah.
can only deal with Athens County. I don't know
Right,
what's coming
exactly.
across the border.
Well, I had to give him credit for,
Well, he was against it.
yeah,
But,
and
but he
it-
was fighting against the tide of propaganda.
Right. Well, there was a lot of dope come out of Franklin County and Fairfield and down through Hocking and everything. But that once it got to the Athens County line, it got stopped. So.
Right. So the last argument is this Schedule 1 and Schedule 2. The Federal Drug Authority puts the most harmful drugs on Schedule 1. So they're originally going back to 1914 under the Harrison Act.
Right.
They said that cocaine and marijuana and heroin are all Schedule 1. Well, then there's another group called Schedule 2. So what the marijuana legalization movement wants to do is get the federal authority to take marijuana off Schedule 1 and put it on Schedule 2 so it's not as legally as harmful.
Right.
And it'll be sold with less regulation.
Well, the thing is about
what they want.
marijuana is, I haven't heard of any marijuana deaths.
That's right. That's true.
But what's sad about it, and David DeWitt and I did a program on heroin, and it's by far a worse problem here in Athens County and other rural counties in the state of Ohio. For some reason or another, now that's all. Some of those people will claim that they're taking it for medicinal purposes because they've been hooked on these opioids,
Oxycontin, right.
Cotton and some of these others, so they eventually got onto heroin, but I guess maybe the doctors have cut them off of their painkillers and all that sort of stuff, but I don't personally believe that there's a marijuana problem in southeastern Ohio. I would
It's a
say
question of
there's
a
more
problem for whom? A problem for mothers? A problem for cancer patients?
Right,
Who's the patient?
right.
Who's the kid?
Well, I'm talking, yeah, I'm talking about more or less the recreational users. Now, we do have an alcohol problem. There's no doubt about that. We do have an alcohol problem.
Well, the alcohol problem is that the law says you're not supposed to take it until you're 21. And then there was a big debate. Well, who says you have to be 21? Why can't it be 18?
Right.
So the alcohol interest said we want to have a referendum to make it 18.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've
Yeah.
always had this argument
Yeah.
between
Right.
the cops who are interested in highway safety,
Yeah.
and they will tell you that there are so many statistics that there are so many drunks. Let's get these drunks off the highway.
I agree.
So there's
They
a
should.
quarrel between two interest groups.
They drink to the
Safety-
point to where they
safety.
don't know enough to not
Parents?
get behind the wheel.
That's right. That's right.
And they think, and here another thing too is there's this mindset that this is a legal product I'm consuming.
Yeah.
So I'll just drink as much as I want or as much as
That's
I
right.
can or whatever.
Yeah.
But
So
okay, we're getting
you got the
sidetracked.
propaganda. Legalization does not mean it's okay.
No, not at all. There's a lot of things that are illegal around the
Yeah.
country that
Yeah,
probably
right.
shouldn't be.
Right. The question is, once it's illegal, what are the penalties to cut down the consumption? Now,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you one more statistic here.
Okay.
That if more than $100 million was spent on the ballot message, that's how Colorado, New Mexico, and Washington legalized it. They had a ballot. Do you want to legalize marijuana? Well, who paid for getting that on the ballot?
Right.
That money just didn't come out of thin air.
Oh, I agree. It did.
Some of it came from George Soros.
Yeah.
Because George Soros said, I'm going to be a humanitarian and I'm going to help the poor smokers that can get a cheap drug because I don't think it's harmful. That's his
Right.
opinion.
Yeah.
George Soros is a moneymaker. He's not in the field of medicine.
Right.
That's what
And for those people who don't know who George Soros is, he's behind a lot of political campaigns and everything and
Right.
all that. He comes from Budapest, Hungary.
Right.
So I don't know why he finds.
It's called money laundering.
Oh, well, perhaps that's what it is. He started out with nothing over there,
The cocaine dealers, the heroin dealers, deal in $20 and $100 bills, and they ship them through the airlines because they can't use checks.
Right.
So a money launderer is a bank, HBSC, the Hong Kong Chinese bank.
Right.
You bring
So
in you bring in $100
he
million
works on
cash.
a global
we'll
scale.
take 10% profit, and you'll get clean dollars.
He works on a global scale, and he's also one of the richest people in the world.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway,
The files are secret.
and I would say he's well protected because
well
I
protected.
never hear anybody wanting to go after George Soros.
Right. Or Chase National Bank, or
Right.
J.P. Morgan, or any other bank.
Right. Right.
And that's what the campaign is about.
That's what it is about. So
You can't believe the senators are telling the whole truth. And when they say they're Christian, they're nominal Christians.
Right.
They went to Presbyterian Sunday school. They've never been back in church since they were 18.
It's always the truth as they know it. you
Yeah,
know.
right. So I'd rather have a honest Jew than a crooked Christian. Vote for Bernie Sanders.
There you go. So anyway, the next question that you were going to address with this marijuana.
Well, you want to go over this technical thing about caseage? Is that at your point here?
Well,
I got some other articles here.
I had mentioned that John Kasich, our Republican governor,
In other words,
had,
look at this title, Gentile. Marijuana bill was rushed through.
yeah,
I agree with that.
He's Ohio Senator
Yeah, why are
Lou
we rushing
Gentile.
it through?
Is he a Democrat or Republican?
He's a Democrat from up around
Okay, Toledo or somewhere.
No. On the Ohio River, up by Belpre.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, not by Belpre. Up Belp. Where's the branch? Up there by Wheeling.
Wheeling, yeah.
There's a little town in Ohio.
Yeah, Steubenville or somewhere
Well,
like that?
yeah, up around Steubenville, right.
Yeah.
There's another town that begins with a B. It isn't Belpre, though. Belmont.
Belmont County.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
where he,
okay,
up around Belmont
Because
County.
I know both of the Republican
Right.
senators.
So,
I
Kasich says
wasn't
that,
familiar with him.
He's a Democrat from Steubenville, and he's interested in the veterans' rights, and so forth and so on. And he voted no on medical marijuana because it hasn't been tested.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm for Gentile. Be cautious.
Okay.
We don't know what you're getting. So that's the debate here. They got 2 marijuana bills. They got 3, I think. Kasich wants to slow it down a bit. 90 days for testing and so forth and so on. But that's really a footnote.
Well, you mentioned that, and we've met these people. Remember down to when Hillary Clinton came to town, you met that character. I don't mention his name, but he was wanting to grow. You know,
well,
he was wanting to grow, and I think he was going to come to one of your doc meetings, but he did not. So I don't know what that means.
We'll just call him Bill.
Okay.
Bill had a grandfather who was in the tobacco business, came from West Virginia.
Okay.
And he pointed out, and it was true, that his grandfather had a monopoly to grow tobacco.
All right.
And he got it from grandfather rights.
Okay.
And before they cracked down on cancer in tobacco, you could sell unlimited amount of tobacco and you could make unlimited amount of cigarettes.
Okay.
So we got 3 minutes and we have to stop, and I'll just finish this.
Yeah.
That since there were profits in tobacco, this guy thinks he can get the same kind of profits in marijuana. I think he's naive.
Right.
There we go.
No.
Okay.
You got the wrong message from the producer there. We have a half hour here to go.
Oh, we do?
so,
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's
All right,
interrupt
yeah.
this. Good.
And let me tell our viewers that you're watching ACTV Channel 9 in Athens, Ohio. My name is Steve Antle. This is Mr. Dr. Robert Whaley,
Right.
an historian from Athens, Ohio. I guess originally from New York.
Right.
And we're talking about the reasons that marijuana is not a medicine. And we've discussed an article by Bertha Madras. It was in the Washington Post. And she's at the McLean Hospital at in a Harvard Medical School in Boston, Massachusetts. She's a psychobiology professor, and this is where Robert's got his information. And she's also a former deputy director for demand reduction in the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy.
Right.
So
So she's in it for scientific reasons and not for money.
right.
And as Burnham would say, advertising is a way that you can increase the sales of tobacco, alcohol, marijuana, heroin, or any other drug.
Yeah.
So watch out for false advertising.
Right.
And these people who say that marijuana is a great medicine are putting out false advertising. And that's Burnham's point of view, and that's my point of view. And people, when you talk about drugs, sex, and alcohol, their emotions run wild. Mm-hmm. We had a guest
They
here
associate that with fun.
who was already interested in the fun.
Guy just left the studio. He was all excited about hearing this legalization
He's
thing
going to be the
on.
first one to buy. But it's not going to be ready for maybe
I don't
until
know.
November. It has to go through the ballot.
Yeah, it would have to.
It has to be voted.
Yeah.
And then I think it's 90 days after the vote, if they
Yeah,
voted for it.
Yeah. So maybe by the first of
And
the
then
year,
they
maybe
have
for
some-
New Year's,
They
you
have
can
some.
light up.
They have some restrictions.
Yeah,
you can
of
grow
course.
your own. Okay?
Yeah.
But you can't grow pounds of it for sale.
Right.
Yeah,
That's trafficking.
that's trafficking.
Yeah, there's personal use and then there's trafficking. And-
Yeah. So the legalization is not a blank check that it's okay. It's legalization with some conditions, and that's true of the other states.
Right.
Washington and Oregon and New Mexico have certain limits, but apparently California has got the least limits,
Right.
and they sell marijuana in chocolate candy, all kinds of hidden forms of it.
Yeah, there's a thing called brownies. Marijuana brownies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what the kids did in the 50s. They used to give unknown professors drugs without them knowing it.
Not in the 50s, was
The
it?
60s.
60s.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. So this is Ohio joining the Barron Grant. Ohio becomes the latest state to legalize medical marijuana. Well, be suspicious of the word legalize. Be suspicious of the word medical. Who says it's medicine? There are psychologists, there are psychiatrists, there are physiologists, there are chemists, and alcohol can be used as a medicine. It can also be abused.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying is, who's controlling the dosage? And I think that mothers with children
Yeah, that
are
would be
opposed to the
another
legalization.
that would be another thing. You know, it's like you purchase medicine, whether you buy it over the counter or you get it through prescription. It'll instruct you on how to take it. You know,
Right.
and I tell you what, if you smoke one joint and you feel really good, you probably think, well, maybe another one would make me feel better. You
And
know, I mean,
I,
that's
I have glaucoma, and I said last time it was $105 a barrel, but I was speaking off the cuff.
Yeah.
It's $105 a barrel. $105 a barrel.
A bottle.
a bottle, and then $25 for the other bottle. So it's about, for 2 bottles, it's $130.
Well, it sounds like.
Now, my friend.
Now, do you think that if somebody instructs you, your doctor or whoever, that maybe a half a joint of marijuana?
No, I asked him. I said, how much marijuana would I have to equal what's in that bottle? He would say, you'd have to be smoking marijuana for 8 hours, one after another.
Yeah.
This is a highly concentrated drug, which concentrates only on the eye.
And you just don't have that sort of time, right?
No, I didn't do. Yeah, no. I'd rather. I have my faith in medical science.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Dr. Frank is a friend of mine. He too has glaucoma.
Yeah.
And he too went to the same doctor, Dr. McAdoo. And he told me, he explained to me why marijuana is a painkiller.
Okay. Well, explain it to the
Okay,
audience.
there is a kind of a drug called glandins. Okay. Glandins.
Yeah,
I didn't know what a glandin was.
No, I don't know
but
either.
the chemical in the prostate gland, prostaglandins, comes from the prostate,
Oh.
which is the gland you have when you have
Right.
cancer.
Right.
Well, you can get this prostaglandin chemical, and you refine it, and it's the same kind of a chemical that's in the marijuana plant.
I see.
So the prostaglandin in raw hash is the chemical which is the painkiller. So he has no doubt that it's a painkiller. The question is, how pure is it, and how effective it is compared to Navon, and whether it's just a cheap painkiller. But it certainly has not been proven to cure any disease. It can arrest
Okay.
marijuana. It can stop marijuana from growing any
It
faster.
can help alleviate your discomfort.
And it can help alleviate pain.
Yeah.
So that's my final word on what I know about marijuana.
Right. So chances are, even when it's legal, you aren't going to be using it.
Nope. I'm voting no on the various forms. And as
Okay.
far as hemp concerned, this is more propaganda. Hemp is a cloth. I don't believe that the people who are selling hemp are really interested in hemp and clothing. It's just a gimmick to sell pot on the side.
Yeah, I think there was a lawyer here in town that used to sell hemp,
I just don't
clothing,
believe it.
and all
Yeah,
that
I don't
sort of
believe
stuff. Yeah.
I think he's trying to sell snake oil under the table.
Oh, I don't doubt that. He's been known to be pretty.
Wherever there's
unscrupulous.
money, and ever profits, beware.
Yeah.
It's called false advertisement. Aspirin used to be the drug that cured everything.
Yeah.
Take care of your heart, take care of your nose, take care of throats.
Right.
Bayer aspirin. Well,
Yeah.
now they say Bayer aspirin is not quite as a universal drug as they thought.
Now, Bayer Aspirin, that's a German company,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. And by the way, these prostaglandins are the chemicals that they use in painkillers like Avon and Aleve, and that's how they manufacture them.
Is that right?
It's
Wow.
refined prostaglandins.
Yeah.
But that's more expensive than buying the raw drug. In other words, for poor people, it is a cheap painkiller, no doubt
Yeah,
about it.
Yeah.
The question is, what are the side effects? Watch out for the youth. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Well, with most marijuana, you have the. Are you aware of the side effect where you become your appetite just kind of speeds up? You there,
Yeah,
and,
right.
and you want to consume a lot of foods
That's right.
and all that sort of stuff. So
That's right.
You think, well, marijuana's pretty cheap, but when you think about the cost of groceries, you might have to buy.
All right, now here's
in
another
order
interesting
to,
headline. Opiate crisis in Northeast stalls the push on marijuana.
Okay, you want to
They're
talk
beginning
about
to
that?
have second thoughts. Is marijuana a gateway drug? The drug dealer who comes with his basket of drugs.
Yeah,
Take marijuana now, cocaine tomorrow,
that's a good question.
morphine next year, and then how about In other words, it leads to harder stuff.
Yeah.
So these are the propaganda stories out on the debatable subject. It's going to
I wonder how our presidential candidates, how they feel about marijuana. Donald Trump and
well, I
Bernie
think most
Sanders,
of them,
Hillary
most of
Clinton.
them take the easy road. That marijuana is not very helpful, not very harmful, which is
Yeah.
kind of a subjective thing.
Yeah.
And the sheriff around here is saying, well, I have more problems with heroin and cocaine, so I'm not going to be troubled if they legalize marijuana. It's not going to affect me. I don't have any kids. So they're just taking the easy road, I think.
Yeah.
And of course, Bernie Sanders is mobilizing the youth, and he's not in the business of turning them off, and he wants to get their vote.
Right.
So he's not going to be very hard on
Yeah, he's not going to say much about it.
right, and he's just going to leave marijuana off the table.
Yeah. And Mrs. Clinton, she's probably smoked more than her share of marijuana.
Who
so
knows?
She's not going to say anything.
There was a big contest of, I guess it was Bill Clinton who was the first one. No, Gore. Gore and Clinton both smoked marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
And this started in New York with various guys who smoked pot. I said, well, it didn't kill me, and I'm still there. Everybody smokes pot. See, that's the propaganda.
Yeah.
If Bill Clinton does it, everybody does it.
Yeah.
If Bill Clinton does it, it's okay for your kids to do it.
Right.
That's the bandwagon effect.
Yeah.
Joe DiMaggio smokes Camel cigarettes. Joe DiMaggio smokes
Okay,
pot.
I got a question for you. Did Joe DiMaggio, did he advertise for Camel or one of those cigarettes?
He did.
Okay. Well, I remember when you said that when old Bernays got started there on Madison Avenue, he had doctors advertising cigarettes.
right.
So
Right.
that'd be, boy, that would,
And there are some doctors who abuse alcohol because it's available.
yeah,
There are some doctors who abuse morphine because it's available.
yeah,
Well, why are they doing it?
yeah.
They have their own psychological problems.
Yeah, they got some problems.
Some people are unhappy in medicine. They say that dentists are unhappy. Dentists
Yeah,
are big
yeah.
abusers because they find out that dentistry is too simple, and they wish they had gone into psychiatric cures because there's big money in it. But it's too late.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I'm glad you discovered that dentistry was simple.
Simple. Too
Yeah.
simple for me.
Well, you were at the University of Pennsylvania.
That's right.
That's the same place that Doc Holliday got his
Right.
dental degree.
Right. There's nothing wrong with dentistry.
No, nothing at all.
It's just that it's not as challenging as psychiatry.
Yeah.
There's more unknowns about psychiatry. They still haven't figured out why people.
Did you want to talk about any of these findings here?
These 5 reasons, I think.
Well, these findings, I don't know.
I think I've
that-
said that the American Medical Association, the Academy for Child, have not approved it. They haven't done the
Okay.
research. Okay.
Okay. then you
American
got a
Psychiatric
fifth one.
Association. These 5 organizations, these 3 organizations have not done the research. That's all they're saying. Let's a little more time. Now, Hillary is more cautious on that. She says we should do more research on marijuana.
Okay.
So she is a little cautious
Yeah, I didn't know.
because she has children, or she had children.
Yeah.
And she was interested in children when she was the wife of Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
So she's done some research in child care.
Right.
So she's not for the blanket legalization of it right away. I think she's a little cautious. But when she goes to New Mexico, she's not going to buck it.
Probably not.
Because they've already legalized it, okay. She's not going to roll it back. You don't get anybody rolling it back.
No.
It's always going to go one way.
Did you want to discuss this? It's about the problem they had over in Pike County. There was shootings, and They found marijuana growing over there, but
Yeah, in other words, it could be a drug turf wars.
it could have been.
That's
For
suspicious.
somebody to kill 8 people, there
Right.
was definitely something going on there. And
Perplexed execution. And
we haven't heard a great deal
we've had
about
a
it.
couple
but-
of murders in Athens County. Were they
Yes,
dealing in drugs or not?
we had a case of a Ohio University student and a former student, and the former student wound up dead. We're not getting a great deal of information from the prosecutor's office, but it was drug related. As far as we know, that he went there to collect a drug debt, and
Right.
somebody shot somebody.
Right.
They're not saying who was a gunman, but in the course of a crime like that, they will charge someone, and right now they've charged, I think it's, what's his name, John Michael Foltz Gainey from Columbus, Ohio, I believe he is. I think he shot a guy by the name of Jackson, or not, Morrison.
Now,
Morrison.
pot is a slang word for people who don't like marijuana. Hashish is kind of scientific.
Yeah,
Marijuana is kind of, and cannabis is the most scientific.
yeah.
But they used to say, well, he's going to pot. That means
He's going downhill quick. Marijuana was called Mary Jane.
Yeah, so this was a sneer at people who got involved with drugs.
Oh, okay.
You know, the Hollywood
okay.
people.
Okay, yeah.
If you're going to pot, you're going
Right.
to soon be doing harder stuff, and then eventually you go crazy.
Is that what happened?
What happened to Michael Jackson? What kind of a guy was Michael Jackson? What was Michael Jackson? Was he black, white? Was he on drugs or wasn't he? How did he die?
That's
Why
a
did he
good
die?
question. Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, there are lawyers in Hollywood who will cover up
Yeah,
for
yeah,
hard stuff.
yeah. Well, I actually think that Michael Jackson's cause of death was his doctor giving him drugs that evidently he couldn't handle or he misused or something.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I think that's what the case
Well, that's what
was.
happened to Adolf Hitler.
He checked out at 50.
Adolf Hitler was taking 29 drugs before he committed suicide.
Yeah, yeah.
He was paranoid.
He probably needed 29 drugs. But no. But we both agree here that drugs are a bad thing, and
You
probably
should
stay
limit
away
the
from.
consumption of them.
Yeah, you should limit your consumption. That's definitely.
We're old-fashioned Puritans.
Yeah, here's another article on that Pike County deal.
Hundreds of pot plants grown
Yeah.
while the well, that's suspicious.
Yeah.
DeWine
Well, you
doing
don't-
the investigation.
Yeah, that's Michael DeWine, the Attorney General. But
Well, I think he wants a mild form of legalization with some restrictions on it in order to block the people who just say no restrictions.
well, that's the thing. Here's what when Casey came out and evidently signed this bill or wrote this bill. I don't know who the author was of the bill. Do you?
No.
Okay, but there's been several different groups that have come up with bills of their own that they wanted to put, on the November ballot.
Right.
So I kind of think maybe they thought, well, and I'm sure they viewed some of these bills already, that maybe they could come up with a better idea than what the people propose, and then they could regulate it better.
That's what
Regulation's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So,
DeWine has some medical doctors on his board. I don't think the hemp dealer wants to have any doctor there, just wide open.
oh yeah,
We don't need a
right,
doctor.
right. So,
Laissez-faire,
Right.
folk medicine.
but yeah, so you say that it'll what Casey signed will go to November, and then the people will vote on it. Is that
And
correct?
some people get tired of the legalistic.
No, what do you think? Do you think it'll pass?
Probably it'll go past because legalization is the trend. 25 states have already done it. Let's get on the bandwagon. It's okay in Washington. It's okay in Colorado. It's okay in New Mexico. Nobody is dying. Fine. They don't pay any attention to what goes
get
on
the
in
bandwagon.
Juarez. How many
Right.
murders are there in Juarez with
Yeah.
these turf wars?
Yeah.
Not reported.
I used to go to Juarez, but I had plenty of protection. I
So
used to
there,
go to
there
Tijuana,
are
and
Mexican
I had plenty of
cartels. They're
protection,
making
yeah.
Mexican cartels who've got billions.
yeah.
They can buy judges. So
Oh, there's no doubt.
how many
in my
judges
mind.
in these states have been bought?
Yeah.
That's what.
I was just. You mind if I tell you a little Mexican story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, this guy, U.S. businessman, he goes down to Mexico for some recreation, I guess, of some sort. And you don't know at the time that you read this article that why somebody came up with a crime, and then they placed him at the crime. And this guy was worth millions upon millions of dollars. So he gets put in prison. So after a period of time, his family in the U.S., I can't remember if it was Texas or where it was, but anyway, the Mexican government starts demanding money. If you want your husband out, or your father out, whatever, you pay up this money. So he was paying money, large sums of money. At the time, it was $50,000 to $100,000, which was a large sum of money at the time. And then they would change the game plans. The Mexicans would change the game plans. So they had to send another $100,000. Well, he couldn't understand why he couldn't get out, and then the deal was, okay, you release me, I'll give you another $100,000. But he could not understand what was going on. And so his wife and brothers, I guess, were trying to get him out, and they were coming up with plans, and they decided they were just going to have to hire somebody to break him out of jail. Well, they finally succeeded in doing that with the use of a helicopter and everything. They got him out of this Mexican prison. Well, when he got back to the States, he found out what was keeping him down there was the fact that he was in a big manufacturing business, and he was in business with his brother-in-law. So when his wife would send $100,000 down to Mexico, his brother-in-law would send $150,000 to keep him in. He didn't want him back up in Texas, because this manufacturing business was doing quite well, and he didn't need his brother-in-law there, So he kept paying money to keep his brother in, but I don't know, in the end, they'd paid like $500,000.
Right.
And finally, he got out by helicopter. But when you go to Mexico, you wanna be careful. I'm not saying you're going to wind up in prison or anything like that, but you could even wind up worse than that. I've seen a lot of things down there that I was glad when I got back in the States.
Well, you got to subscribe to a Texas newspaper to get some more detailed facts.
Yeah, right.
I don't think.
I'll tell you a little personal story about me. I went to Mexico one time, and I went down there, and I got a haircut, and I got a meal and whatever, and I decided I was going to come back. And this friend that was with me, he stayed on the California side. He wasn't going to cross the border. Well, when I got back to the Mexican border crossing, they decided that they weren't going to let me cross over either. You know, I had to prove who I was, you know. I didn't look like the guy on my driver's license, and I did have some company ID, but they weren't impressed by that. And
You mean you had aged since the ID picture was taken? Why didn't they see the ID as it was you?
well, the whole thing was
Or that was an excuse.
my hair wasn't quite as you know, gray as it is now, and it was dark when it was like the driver's license was 4 years old or something, you know, and so he's thinking he's looking at a much younger person, you know. I think I don't know, I might have been about 35 years old at the time, but not much older than that. But I didn't expect to have any problems down there, and when I got back up there...
So how long did they keep you? 2 hours, 10 hours?
No, they kept me for maybe 30 minutes, but it wasn't the U.S. side I was having problems with. It was the Mexican side. And I looked like somebody that they had been looking for.
Yeah.
And believe me, it was really a little scary that they appeared to be scared to death of me, you know. And I had a backpack on, and I took it off. Oh, man, they jumped back from behind the counter.
You in this U.S. Express truck?
No.
Oh, well, that's the problem.
I was with another operation at the time. But anyway, you know, don't touch your package, don't touch your package. So I said, well, just take my ID, you know. And so they sent it over onto the American side. And the Americans came over, and they said, well, we are convinced that you are who you say you are. I said, well, I'm relieved of that. But you know what? Even when they let me go, I don't think they ever convinced those Mexicans.
Okay.
They thought they had a big time
Operator.
smuggler or something, you know. And I don't think I just had a few
Well, I've never been
items
to
in my-
Mexico, but I've just heard secondhand rumors about it.
Well, when I would go across from Juarez, I went with protection, so to speak. I did not, and we were taken down. We were taken down to where we could get something to eat and drink and everything like that, and then you could shop. You could shop around. So I never felt uncomfortable there because this one guy that was with us was like about 6'3" and 300 pounds, so we weren't too concerned about that. But so I guess we're getting off sidetracked here. So we got 2 minutes, Robert. If you want to say any more about.
Well, I started out in 1948. My mother was a teetotaler. My father was a very light drinker. He never got drunk in his life. But he had a quart of wine every winter in order to use it as a medicine for his throat. He had a fifth of brandy in order to keep him warm in the wintertime.
Yeah.
But he never drank in the summertime.
Right.
He never drank beer to keep cool.
Right.
He used it as a folk medicine
Yeah.
as an 8th grader.
Yeah. That's great.
And he learned from his experience in France
Yeah.
that brandy could be used as a medicine.
Okay.
And I used to get brandy eggnogs when
Okay.
I had the flu.
Okay.
You mix it with egg,
Right.
and it was a good medicine
Yeah.
as a medicine.
Okay.
But the small dosage was
Yeah.
the medical usage of alcohol.
Yeah.
And he knew what his body could stand.
Right.
Now, I had another relative who was a confirmed alcoholic.
Yeah.
Drank himself to
Yeah.
death.
Yeah.
He was dead at 50 years old
Wow. Yeah.
and left my aunt as a widow.
Oh boy.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to go.
So you learn from
Yeah.
experience.
This is Robert Whaley. My name is Steve Antle, and
Okay.
this has been Athens Speakout. And all I can say is to stay high and stay happy.
Stay high and stay dry.